What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of Smells Like Coke. Gonna be joined by my old buddy Duke the Dumpster Drosy. But first, we're gonna pay a few bills. Roll it.
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
All right, Smells Like Hope, and we're back. And where's Duke? Duke, where'd you go? There we go.
I'm here, brother.
Brother.
I almost disappeared, but yeah.
My last day here in the beautiful French Quarter in New Orleans, and I am very ready to go home. I'll tell you that much. Third podcast from New Orleans. So New Orleans, the Big Easy hasn't been as easy as I thought it would be. I was telling you earlier that I did that bowl gimmick. Whew.
Yeah,
that's fun, man.
We're too old for that shit, man. You shouldn't be riding no mechanical bulls.
Speak for yourself. I should definitely be riding mechanical bulls. Once. I did it once. It cost me $4. I think, okay, $4 for the memory. Let's do it.
Okay.
But I had one for like 8 seconds my first time. It wasn't a real bull, but it was still pretty impressive.
Gotcha. Okay.
Flew off the thing, hit their little bounce house, they have put up around it, bounced back up to my feet. I was like, yeah, baby. People there popped for me. It's like, that's right, I can still get my heat.
There you go. Well, right on. You can mark that off the bucket list, I guess.
I guess. I'm never going to get to wipe off my bucket list hitting Duke the Dumpster with a trash can. Maybe.
Someday.
Maybe. Bink. So, all right, we're back here on Smells Like Hope. We're the podcast dedicated to shining the light of truth on the disease of addiction, because it is a disease. Don't fucking fool yourself. Don't tell me it's a choice. You guys are assholes who say that, especially those of you with the program who go, oh, it's a choice. Kiss both sides of my ass. That's all I got to say to that, because it's a rough thing. And one of the biggest pieces of advice, I guess, for lack of a better word, somebody gave me was Jake the Snake when he said, addiction is a disease of relapse. And it's not really whether or not you relapse. It's what do you do, how do you handle it when and if that happens. And that's what we want to talk about today. Because it's like I was talking with Howard last time. It's like go on these Facebook recovery groups, and people are just absolutely brutally punishing themselves for having these relapses without looking at the fact that they're actually on here reaching out for help. And that's the son of a bitch about this drug. I'm running around New Orleans and I'm walking by people on the streets who got powder on their nose. And I'm looking at those people going, so what are you? Are you an addict, or are you a weekend warrior on vacation who could take that Coke you just got and put it away and forget about it for 2 weeks? Or are you going to do everything you have and get 5 more bags,
Yeah.
Yeah, when you pick up your first time, there's a choice, your second time, whatever. But eventually, when the demon can or does take a hold of you.
Yeah, there's no choice. When you're in active addiction, there's no choice.
The whole powerlessness thing is so real.
True.
It's horrible. It's horrible. Yeah. Like I was talking a lot with Chris Casanova when he just left today, but last night we were talking a lot about it. The fact that I was on this destructive circle of I knew I was facing criminal charges for selling cocaine. And what do I do when I get out of jail? I go start selling and doing more cocaine. That's a destructive pattern that nobody would do if they were even kind of reasonable thinking.
Nope.
So
we are void of common sense in those moments.
Void of. I think it goes so far past even common sense. Just any sense at all. All you can
Yeah,
do is focus on your next dollar and your next bag.
that's what it becomes. It's very primal. We become animals that are just seeking the pleasure of the next fix, the next use. And it's a
Yeah.
sad cycle that never ends until you can break the cycle somehow. Either you get help or you are forced to by the court system or both. So, but it's a monster when you're in the middle of it.
And, you know, even people who are being forced to by the court systems, most of them are just using, recovery as a dodge to stay out of prison. Unless
Sure.
they've had that moment of clarity. I'm never going to look at anybody in drug court and tell them that they're
Statistically, the
full of
numbers
shit.
are very low for the people that get it. The
Yeah.
first time or even the second or third, whatever. It's the numbers are very low. Like you said, Dale, there are a lot of people that are just going through the motions to stay out of jail or prison, and it's unfortunate. But then there's programs like the one you went through and the one I went through here, and now I work for, where it's my job to try and help them see the light before they walk out on the street on their own again. Um, under their own powers and have to try to take over for themselves. And
Yeah.
some listen and some don't, and that's just the nature of the beast. You can't get too wrapped up. I always used to say you can't live or die with the successes and failures of others, because if you do, you're going to be a mess.
Yeah, you're
Because you
going to die
can't
a
save the
thousand deaths.
world. Yeah, you cannot save the world. But relapse happens sometimes. I don't necessarily agree with the statement that relapse is part of recovery. Uh, there's a problem in that statement, because when you say it to addicts that way, it opens a door in their mind. They
Yeah,
say,
you're
"Oh, it's
giving them
okay. It's
permission.
okay to relapse."
Right.
But what we always like to say is, relapse, sometimes it happens. It can be an unfortunate part of recovery. Um, but it can be a learning experience. It can be a valuable part of recovery as long as you make it back. We don't recommend it, though. We don't want everybody thinking that it's okay to relapse. You should really try to work a program so you never relapse. But it does happen, and it's not I just had this conversation with a participant this week, 2 days ago. They went through a horrible breakup. The person completely broke their heart, moved a new person into the house within
Wow.
a week. They were crushed. And then the opportunity presented itself, a
Right.
couple of hydros. And the next thing you know, they just lost, they almost had 2 years. And now they're beating themselves to death over it. They're hating it. They're hating themselves. That shame and the guilt, which is so dangerous to recovery, really rears its ugly head. So you're not only dealing with the heartbreak of the broken relationship, but now you're dealing with the self loathing
Hmm.
going through that whole process, because you're hating yourself for falling back. But the key is, you don't continue the high. If it happens, you stop. You use your tools, you make the phone calls, you call the people that you know are going to help you out of the situation, and you get back on, you get back to work that day, and square one again is okay, because now you're stronger in that you've learned a lot of lessons from the relapse. Always remember, if people just say, "Oh God, now I got to start all over." Yeah, but you're starting over with a wealth of knowledge, more knowledge than you had before, and more understanding of how cunning and baffling the disease is, and how it's just waiting for a moment of weakness to jump. And you got to do everything in your power to be prepared.
Yeah. And yeah, like when I was doing the show with Howard a couple weeks ago, we took last week off, but I told him something that I said to somebody in one of the groups who was just killing themselves. So I sent them a messenger message, and I said, I hate to quote movies, but why do we fall down? And they said, what? I don't know. Like, really? You haven't seen Batman? Why do we fall down? So we can learn to get back up.
Sure.
That's the whole thing. Is we all fall. Everybody falls. But then when you fall, you get back up. That's what you have to do. So these people are reaching out on these groups to be like, "Oh, I hate myself. I'm a horrible human being."
Mm.
What they're saying isn't the right thing to say, but at least they're fucking saying something to somebody. instead of hiding in their room just staying high.
and getting high, doing more drugs or whatever. Yeah, that's the worst thing you could do because then a minor setback becomes a huge problem.
Right.
So, but yeah, I agree with you. One of the first things I tell people is this is not the end of the world. Matter of fact, it's far from it. It's hard to see that from where you're sitting right now.
Right.
I
Even if it
understand
feels like the end of their
it
world.
feels like the end of your world, but it's not. Trust me. All of us have relapsed at some point in time, and it's just a matter of how you use this going forward. That is going to kind of dictate the type of person that you are and what kind of program of recovery that you work from this point forward. And then you just kind of try to pump them up and get them out of that horrible shame, that mindset, and then you start working through the steps of what happened. How did it happen? Where were you? Who was there? Who showed up? How did the opportunity present itself? What was the emotions you were feeling? And you go through step by step. And then once you've tackled that, then you tackle what will we do differently next time. You have to have a plan in place. Every time you have a setback, whether you use and relapse or you don't, and you almost relapse, you have to take each and every one of those moments and create a plan for it. That's what makes you stronger. Two of the biggest things that cause relapse are breaking up of relationships and death of a loved one that's close to you. And those are two of the big ones I tell people, to prepare themselves for. At some point, you're going to have these situations that cause emotions that you're going to have difficulty dealing with, especially early in recovery. And you got to develop a plan. You have to have a plan on deck and ready to go, stored in the computer bank for when that day comes. And then you'll be ready. At least you'll have the fighting chance, And then you use your tools. You pick up the phone and call somebody. Call somebody you know is going to help you. Give yourself a fighting chance before you pick up and use. And then, of course, just realize if it happens, again, it's not the end of the world as long as you stop immediately and get right back on track and get around the people that are going to help you, pick up where you left off, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah, okay, so you have those number 1 and 2 biggest reasons for relapse. What number out of, like, say, 1 to 5 would you list complacency at?
Complacency's right up there, and
Like 3?
I'd say third.
Yeah.
It could be third because complacency is the silent killer. Complacency is the one nobody's ready for. Complacency in that things get going so good for so long that we make a mistake and let our guard down, and we become complacent, and that can be a killer. I always say shame and guilt. The shame and guilt, those are the big ones, and complacency is another one. So shame and complacency, those types of feelings and emotions or lack thereof, or losing your sight in complacency, losing sight of what you're doing in recovery is so dangerous because then we make the mistakes. We start going, well, I've been doing so good for so long. Maybe a little bit, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Famous last words. I've said them myself. I'll do a little bit and I'll be good. No.
Nope.
I've proven to myself over and over and over that's not the case. It doesn't work that way.
Because a little bit doesn't really exist.
No, there's no such thing. As soon as I get a taste, I'm off and running. Now, that I would not expect that to be the case. If I relapsed now, I would hope that I would pick up the phone before I actually physically relapsed. But if I did, I would hopefully take those steps because I've got you talk about plans. I've got so many plans stored in this brain for different scenarios to get myself out of trouble and different people to call that hopefully one of those would kick in. And sometimes it's just as simple. There's just so many things. We talked about plans like sometimes it's as simple as physically removing yourself from the situation. Get up and walk your ass out of the room. For another one for me, we were talking about This person said they found the pills in an old pile of things they had not looked through. I said, okay, if that's the case, I'm going to believe what you're saying, but you got to have a plan for that. And for me, when I was going through drug court, I found pills in a couple instances in the room I was still living in. And I didn't even give myself a chance to even think about it. I ran to the bathroom and threw it in the toilet and flushed it.
Whoosh.
And that became the running plan for finding something unexpected. Find the nearest toilet or water, dump it in there, wash it down the drain, or stomp it into the concrete and stomp it to powder and get rid of it. But yeah, physically get rid of it as quickly as possible. Don't sit down and start thinking about it. A big mistake people make is, man, I bet I could get a few bucks for this.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, no, don't think like that, because usually what happens is maybe you'll sell something, but you'll use more and you will relapse. The longer you hold on to it, the less likely you are to be safe. So you got to get rid of these things right away. You got to get yourself out of situations right away. That's the best plan.
Well, the reason that I brought up the complacency thing was I'm going to share one of my experiences on Tuesday, which I feel like my worst case scenarioing everything could have been horrible, because I'm not an alcoholic, never had a drinking problem, and I really wanted to try a hurricane out here in New Orleans. So I got one, and Chris is like, what is that? I said, it's a hurricane. He goes, well, why are you drinking that? I was like, man, shut up, I'm not an alcoholic. He's like, all right, but I'm going to keep an eye on you, ha-ha, rib, nudge, nudge. So I downed that thing, and it was, just by the way, hurricanes are goddamn delicious. I just have to say, made me want to get a second one. So I got the second one, and now I'm tasting on this thing, and it tasted funny. And I said, Chris, taste this. Does this taste funny to you? Takes a drink, goes, no. Tastes like the exact same thing we just had. And eventually I realized I'm tasting cocaine. This alcohol is triggering that receptor in my head, because I'm not an alcoholic, but whenever I was drinking, it was
they go hand in hand.
High. Yep.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, well, here's a $13 drink, bam, in the garbage. And he goes, just like you say, it's that fucking complacency thing. And I'm like, I guess so. I guess it's just like, you got that little devil in your back going, come on, you're not an alcoholic. You can drink. Let's go drink. Come on, you're not an alcoholic.
Those are famous last words.
That's right, son.
An addict is an addict. The addict mentality doesn't matter what it is. If it changes your mindset and makes you feel better or high, then it's dangerous to us. It is dangerous to addicts. I can't do any of it because I know what it leads to. I've been down the road enough times now. For me, my personal experience, I have to practice abstinence because it's a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
I remember, and I am an alcoholic, by the way, and I remember there's certain sodas I can't drink, like a Sprite. I can't drink Sprite
really?
because that was the mixer with the vodka. So when I drink regular Sprite, like you said, I start to taste vodka in it.
Yeah.
It's not even there. So yeah, those are the weird triggers. But you learn from it. And that's the key. Did you learn a lesson about yourself
certainly.
in this situation?
Certainly, especially with old Casanova just hovering around me.
Hey, that's a good friend right there, though.
Yeah, it is. Like, I go off to go to the bathroom at one of these bars. He actually walked down the hallway and stood in front of the bathroom. I said, what are you doing? He goes, there are people in there doing coke right now, and you know it.
Sure.
I'm like, all right, let's go. You got me. Let's go. I didn't do any. Let's get out of here.
Good point.
Now, he knows. I put that guy through hell. So he's like, he doesn't want to do that again. And I don't want to do it to him again. But that goes right back to when people, like, even if I did run out and stumble on a bag of coke and do it, I like you would like to believe that I would get a hold of myself and take the next step to fix it. I would like to believe that, but I don't want to test it.
Right.
Hopefully
we get a handle on it before we do it. But yeah, I got you, man.
I'm fortunate enough that in my 3 short years of not doing coke, I'm fortunate that I have been able to stay away from it and not relapse because there's,
Yeah.
of
Well,
course, there's
3 years
always
is
that
not short.
temptation.
3 years is quite an accomplishment.
It
Yeah.
certainly doesn't feel short.
Yeah. It can feel long sometimes when you're struggling, but you know, there's good times to come too. It gets better. It gets better.
Oh,
You
it
learn as
gets
long as you're
so much
constantly
better.
learning, you know.
And that's something else I always tell people is, like when they're brand new to recovery of yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you, oh, this is a cakewalk. Your first year is gonna be a son of a bitch. But if it didn't get easier, I wouldn't have made it to where I'm at. I wouldn't be so hopeful for my future.
Yeah. You know, it's as hard as we make it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of difficult to see the big picture, especially in the first year. I always tell people it was right around my 2 year mark the first time I finally felt like I could take a deep breath and relax. It felt like I was not creating the chaos anymore. It was right at about 2 years. Right around 2 years, I finally realized it started clicking, and I started to understand this doesn't have to be difficult. You know, I can have peace of mind, and that's the
Yeah.
ultimate. One of the ultimate goals is to find peace of mind in your day to day life. You don't have to create chaos and live in chaos. You know, we did plenty of that shit when we were getting high and stealing and doing all these other things we did. We don't have to live in that chaos anymore. And when you finally come to that realization that everything in life doesn't have to be a trigger, it's a wonderful feeling. And then this stuff gets easier, man, and you start to really enjoy life and you enjoy recovery.
And
So
there, yeah,
people
there
always say
comes.
I'm fighting. They say I'm fighting this battle every day, and I say, well, I understand it feels like a battle, but it doesn't always have to be a battle. Hopefully, eventually, it's going to get easier for you. If you truly work a good program of recovery, you won't have to feel like it's a battle anymore, man. You can start loving life. And that's the point that I think it's the one of the big goals for everybody is to find that place where you have some inner peace, man, and you can you can put all the bad shit you did behind you, not forgetting about it, but not dwelling in it anymore, and you can start to move forward without fear. That's the
Yeah,
ultimate feeling.
that's what for when it started getting a lot better for me was when I realized I'm allowed to let it go. Even if other people that might think I've wronged them or I might have, even if they don't want to forgive me, I'm allowed to forgive me. And
Yeah, we
that's
have
it.
no control. We have no control over other people at
Right.
all. All we have control, and we were just having this conversation in my class today. I was teaching recovery skills, and you know, that big saying is the only thing we have control over is our reaction to things in this world, how we react in situations. That's it. We can't control other people. We cannot, as much as we want to, and we let those things get us angry and worked up. It's a waste of our time. All we can do is try to create that peace of mind for ourselves and in our reactions to things and find patience. In so many situations, we often have to find the patience to not overreact and get angry and create the chaos anymore.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the peace of mind, man. That's that is my I don't know. That's the Duke the Dumpster's recovery manifesto right there. The key
Nice.
is peace of mind and patience.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta forgive yourself. Even means going to therapy, talking to people who are the same, but you gotta forgive yourself. But let's switch gears and talk to some people who might be unsure about what to look out for in their own family members for warning signs of their family or friends making a trip to the relapse zone. Because people will watch an addict forever and ever and ever very judgmentally because they don't know how to do it any other way, and that might be one of the things that pushes somebody off the edges when nobody's giving them the benefit of the doubt. Even still, 3 years clean and they're still being watched and judged, and it gets dangerous.
Being a family member of somebody that's in addiction or that's trying to stay in recovery, it is very important that you know try not to be judgmental. If they're trying to stay clean and sober and do the right thing, um, sometimes it's not about watching every move they make. Sometimes we have to start to slowly allow for trust to come back in the relationship. And part of doing that is not judging. And what's more important is just saying, listen, because people are always going to struggle in recovery. People are going to have days that are difficult. They're going to have challenging days where you worry about them. Maybe they will start isolating. Maybe they'll get pissed off. Maybe they're going to cut you out and not communicate with you as a family member. And that's going to throw up the red flags and you're going to start to be concerned. But sometimes it's more important just to offer your love. Say, I'm here for you and I will sit next to you and I will love you. It's the only way I know how. But I'm not going to judge you and I'm not going to profess that I can fix everything. I know that you have to go through some of this. But yeah, that's how it kind of happens. And then the things that people should look out for is when we started having some of the old practices, when we were in active addiction, we would isolate, we would cut ourselves off from the world, we would not like social situations, and we would be very moody. That those kind of ups and downs. It's amazing how many people get uh, diagnosed as bipolar in early recovery when they're really not bipolar. They're just their
The
brain has
go-to.
to heal. Their brain has to heal. So, but they throw a lot of people on these bipolar meds because your brain is so out of whack early in recovery. And as a family member, you want to allow for that. You want to understand that there's going to be ups and downs and moody days, and that's part of the process. But it's important to be positive. And again, just offer your love and support. Don't try to bark orders at anybody, or if they're not using drugs, they got a fighting chance. And then, other than that, just encourage the good behaviors, like going to meetings. If you find an open meeting, you can go to the meeting as a family member. You can go with them and show
Sure.
your
Yeah.
support. That is such a huge move. If a family member that's not in recovery goes to a meeting with their loved one who's in recovery, I cannot tell you how much that means to the person, the addict in recovery. It's an amazing thing. That's one of the best ways you can show support and be open minded and listen and to what's going on so you can learn as much as you can. But it's not necessarily about looking for bad things to happen because then it becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. If you're constantly looking for all the bad shit to go down and you're badgering them about it, then guess what's going to happen? They're going to get sick of that shit and the bad shit's going to happen. So, give them a fighting chance. Don't be judgmental. Just offer your love and support and be there for them and understand that there's going to be challenging days. Um, but, with a good program of recovery, we bounce back. The sun's going to come up tomorrow. It's going to be a new day. And those are the kind of things I think that I offer when I speak to family members who are working and living with or dealing with a family member in recovery, early recovery, recovering addicts and so forth.
And to add on to that, people also need to remember that their friends and family who are addicts are still people. And they're still going to have their days where they need to isolate for their peace of mind. They're going to have days where they're moody or tired or just feeling disassociated, lack of interest and involvement. But we all have that. So don't use that as oh, well, I read in a book or I went on to imright.com and it says that, you've already real. Now, fuck that. Look, you just remember that these are people who are taking on a fight that most of the world doesn't understand because you can't understand it if you haven't done it. Even when you're the friends and family of that addict who has fought your own battle.
Yeah, it's just so important that they know that you're there and you support them and love them. Sometimes that's enough. And, and they'll find their way. Again, if they're working a good program and they've got good recovery friends around them that they can constantly talk to, and they come out of that hole eventually, and things will work. But don't jump the gun and don't cause something that doesn't need to happen by stressing them out too much and
Right.
pushing, your idea of recovery on them because you don't know what it's like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly. And the thing is, though, the addicts try to use, you don't know what it's like as a defense for how they're behaving. It just, They're always going to try to manipulate you. Always going to try and get
Oh
over
yeah.
on you.
Old habits are hard to break. The manipulation, the lying, we do that well into our recovery. We had this discussion today as well. We were talking about the way that we, you know, the person I had spoken to that relapsed, I questioned whether they really found the drugs or did they go seek them out. And they
Sure.
assured me that they found them. And I said, okay, I'm going to take you at your word. But the reality is, more times than not, pills don't fall out of the sky miraculously when we're really pissed off. Usually there's some effort put into it. But I understand that lying is an old habit that's hard to break. And a lot of times the addict, even in recovery, or somebody that has just relapsed, will ride that lie to the bitter end and try to paint themselves in the best light. And the important thing is I don't judge them for that because I understand it. I've done it. And I know how they feel. They're doing it because they feel horrible about themselves. So I don't press them. Oh, I think you're lying. No, no. Let's walk through this together and figure out a solution and make sure it doesn't happen again. That's the best thing you can do.
Well said. Okay, Brandon asks Duke, what advice would you give to a teen who might be traveling down that dark road?
You know, ask for help. That's one of the most difficult things is, and if they're not ready, that's the hard thing about this disease is you're not going to help somebody that doesn't want to be helped.
Right.
Now, there's other options. If it's a teenager who's a minor, there's other options, legally speaking, powers that the parents have that they can enforce more so than an adult who's got a drug problem. But they got to be ready. But again, I say, if you're the family member, show them that you love them and support them. Don't be judgmental. Don't scream at them. Uh, Try to help them understand that they have a problem and you want to help them. That goes a long way. Because when teenagers feel judged, they shut down. And teenagers already feel like they're invincible anyway. So don't feed that lie. Just offer love and support and tell them, you understand. They're going to make their own mistakes. You just want to help them not make big mistakes at such an early age. So again, they have a fighting chance, man. Because especially now it's a scary world out there with the shit out there like fentanyl and stuff. People are dying, including kids, every day. So, offer love and support. Try to get them help. Try to take them to meetings, especially if you can find adolescent meetings that are open meetings you can go to with them and just sit next to them and show them you love them, and offer the support. But yeah, it's something you want to try to get a handle on it early, and hopefully they're not too far down that path, and you can catch them before it gets too deep. Because it's a miserable existence. Anybody like us, anybody that's been deep in active addiction will tell you it's a very dark place. So, but yeah, so there's all kinds of adolescent support and meetings and groups. That's a good way to go. I don't know what your religious beliefs are. You could try, taking them to church if that's an option for your family, if that's something that you think helps you. But again, just offer them love and support and try to get them out of that mess before it gets too deep.
And personally, I would recommend don't try to call an intervention specialist. That shit never works. It just never
Yeah, you
works.
scare them all. You scare the kids off. The teenagers,
You scare adults off. Nobody likes to be ambushed and be lectured and browbeaten and told that, oh, everybody loves you, and now we're going to take you to a scary, new, unknown situation, and you're just supposed to jump in on it. I think interventions are horrible. I think they do more
Well,
harm than
I
good.
think it would depend. It depends on how they're done. I mean, there can be valuable. There can be value in interventions, but again, man, it all comes down to what this person wants to do. If they're not ready to stop, guess what?
Yeah.
I don't care what kind of intervention you got, or what kind of bells and whistles, or if you bring grandma, from Italy over to the United States to plead with her grandson, whatever you're going to do, it's not going to work because they're not ready.
Right.
I always tell folks it's got to get painful enough for us to change. So, you know, maybe they got to get caught with some drugs in their possession and taken to jail and feel that, maybe that's the pain. They got to get a possession charge or something. But
Yeah.
hopefully not. Hopefully not. Again, hopefully, with good family support and hopefully taking them into some of the resources that are available in your community, um, you can show them a better way.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, for me, the thing about, and I've never gone through a relapse, yet, knock on wood, boom, 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 no relapses for me.
Don't. Yeah.
But what I will say about people I do know who have been through a relapse is everybody who gets clean, whether the courts are pushing on them or not, everybody who actually gets clean does so because of a moment of clarity. So when you've already been through that, you have a relapse. At least you can recognize what a moment of clarity is when it pops up again. And that's what these people in the groups, they're having that moment again. Oh no, I screwed up. They might be full of self-loathing, but they're talking to somebody about it, and that's what's important. And it goes right back to why do we fall down?
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. The moment of clarity, it's also, another way to put that is things get painful enough. Another way to put that is sick and tired of being sick and tired. When you've been out there at it,
Your misery is fully refundable.
yes, yes. So, but yeah, a moment of clarity is a very important thing, man. You finally sit back and go, what am I doing to myself? And when you realize you've had enough of it. But then it's very important, again, surrender, ask for help. Surrender, surrender, surrender is such a dirty word. It's scary. It means weakness. No, it doesn't. In recovery, getting yourself out of addiction, when you surrender, you make yourself more powerful. You don't make yourself weak. You are surrendering yourself to an amazing program of recovery and the help that comes with it, with all the people involved, and if you're in a fellowship or whatever your program of recovery looks like. So that's the important thing, is to ask for help. Don't feel like you're going to be a burden on somebody. Pick up that 9,000-pound phone and call somebody that'll help you and get you out of it, or show you the way, or help you find resources, or get you into a rehab if you need to. Believe me, there's nothing in this world that is so important going on in your life right now that you cannot take time away from it and go to rehab and get healthy. I've learned that a few times. I'm like, no, I can't go because I'm working or I'm teaching at this job and I've got these reports to turn in. Da da da. No, no, no. Shut up. Park your pride and ask for help. It'll save your life.
And another cool aspect that people can look forward to, and this hurts people in recovery when they've achieved it, but like Jake the Snake is a goddamn superhero to me. Watching all the shit he actually finally overcame, and the help, the advice, the pep talks he's offered me. Like Jake is a superhero to me. I look at Jake as just a god right now. And I'm not saying that I'm a god to somebody else, but I have had people say, you're like a hero, and that makes you feel good. I'm giving it away so I can keep it. Jake was giving it away to me so he could keep it. And that's a big thing, to know you're actually legitimately helping somebody, not just making them think.
When you have felt the power of recovery, and your life starts to turn around in a positive way, it is such an amazing feeling that you want to share it with other people.
Right.
And you start to do anything in your power to show others the way. You become that light through the darkness to show them the way out. Um, and a lot of people see that as a very heroic thing. And we always say, look around at the people you are. When you start, when you're in early recovery, look around for the people who have what you want. The people who are living a life the way you want to live your life in recovery, clean and sober, and get with those people and learn from those people. Chances are they're going to help you. And, learn from the people that you look up to, like the Jake the Snake Roberts. An amazing story, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I'm so glad. I've been so happy for him for such a long time because I remember Jake during some of the really bad years.
Right.
And it was bad, and a lot of people didn't think there was any hope. But there's always hope.
Jake didn't think there was any hope.
No, he didn't. And DDP did an amazing thing, man. I'm sure Diamond Dallas Page is his hero because DDP, in a very selfless way, helped Jake the Snake Roberts pick up and change his life in a positive way. And that was the important thing. And he did it in such a way that clicked with Jake. That was the moment for Jake where things changed.
Right.
You never know. You might be that moment for somebody where they
That's
change.
true. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, DDP only did it so he could push his yoga." And you say that to Jake, and he goes, "Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit why he did it? I'm still here." That's
It's saving. It's saving. If you look at the numbers and the statistics of DDP yoga, he's actually saving people's lives. He's saving lives. So why try to browbeat that? Why try to talk down on something
because
that's been?
people are haters.
Yes, they're jealous, and we don't have time for haters and jealous motherfuckers in this world anymore. The negativity, you got to cut it out of your life, and those haters are number one on the list. They get cut out of my life really fast. As soon as I come across a hater or a jealous person or just somebody that's negative in general,
Gonna.
they got to go.
Well,
And that's why I see things positive, like Jake the Snake and the DDP and his yoga, and these are all positive things, man. And you got to give credit where credit is due. Diamond Dallas Page is doing amazing things with that program, and he is saving people's lives. So you can't take anything away from that, unless you're jealous.
I agree.
Unless you're a miserable sot who's walking through life hating yourself. Well, if that's the case, try something different, man. Find some positivity. Maybe you'll change your life too.
Pounding back those gallons of haterade.
Yep. Tons of them. Yeah. There's some people that walk through life that way, and it's just sad. But I can't sit around worrying about those people anymore because then they'll drag you down with them. So, I learned a long time ago. I have to move on, and maybe at some point they'll find some happiness in their lives. But for right now, it's not going to involve me because I can't be negative. I can't live a negative life because I know where that takes me.
That's right.
And I don't want to go to that place.
It's that express pass. It's not even like
yeah.
car and take the side roads. Like you start that shit, and bam, there you are.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the saying you said? Addiction it offers refunds, or you can come back.
Give sobriety a try for a year. Your misery is fully refundable if you don't like it.
Your misery is fully refundable. That's it. I like that.
Yeah, I like that one too. I learned that one actually in rehab.
Right on.
Just something the counselor said, just very in passing, and like right in my brain, just pounded. And I'm like, oh, that's so good, because it's true. When you're rolling down that road, you know you're miserable. You know you're fucking miserable. But that little monster on your back covers that up and tells you, no, we're okay. We're just having a bad month.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having a bad month, and it's spitting out 19 of them.
Exactly. It covers it up temporarily, and then it's right back even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing I try to tell people, man, is, whether it's at a rehab or in a drug court or at an NA meeting or an AA meeting or just talking to somebody else in recovery, or talking to a therapist that's never been an addict. You can find value in every person and every situation you come across in life. Find the value for yourself and use it to make yourself a better, stronger person in recovery. I used to hear people complain all the time about counselors that were just book smart, that didn't know anything about the real deal and addiction. And I said, listen, but they still have some value. They have things that can be valuable to you in your recovery. So don't just cut out everything they say because they haven't been where we've been. There is value in every situation and every person you come across in life. It's how you use those lessons that you can learn and take from these situations that's gonna make you or break you and determine how happy you are in life and how positive your life becomes. It's how you use that information and those lessons. Find value in everybody and everything.
And to add on to that, just because you have a counselor that hasn't been an addict, I mean, they're not telling you all their personal life. You don't know dick all about these people. You don't know who their mother was, who their grandma was, who their brother was, what kind of nightmares they've lived through. There's a reason these people chose to go into recovery, even though they were never an addict. So, consider that too. That just because they haven't shoved a needle in their arm doesn't mean they don't have an idea what you're going through.
Yeah, you never know the life the person next to you is living and going through. Honestly, that's why it's so important when you find yourself in you know, situations where you're pissed off, like say a road rage incident or something like that, where you find yourself pissed off and angry at another individual. I always try to say first and foremost, I say patience. I gotta find patience because the truth is I don't know what this person's going through in their daily life.
That's right.
And you know what? I'm not going to pass judgment, and I'm not going to sit here angry at them because it does me no good. So we all need to move forward and find patience and positivity in life, and that's possible. Again, it's possible. You got to try and live a positive life and not create the chaos, not take life so don't sweat the small stuff, as they say,
Mm-hmm.
and find a good program of recovery. And if you're dealing with the family member that's coming out of addiction, don't be so judgmental. Show them you love them and support them, and be there for them. But don't browbeat them and yell at them at every turn and point out all the things they're doing wrong. We know all the things we do wrong. Believe me, we live in that shame, in that cesspool of guilt and shame. So,
A lot of
uh,
people though they just don't know that. They think that because we're not showing it on the outside that we're not realizing all the damage that we've done. But yeah, we have a very detailed mental checklist about the shitty things that we've done.
yeah, and then that's where it becomes important to practice communication skills with your loved ones. Learning how to communicate on an unemotional level, explaining what you're feeling and where you're coming from, and the things that you've been through, but don't expect anything in return. Because you never know. But if they do understand, great. If they don't, then maybe you got to move on and keep living your life in recovery the way you're doing until they come around and gain a better understanding. But it's not our job to prove to the world what we've been through or any of that stuff. It's just all we can do is walk that positive path and show by our actions no longer, because we talk that talk for a long time and they've heard all that shit over and over again. We gotta show the changes we are making in ourselves by with examples of how we're changing, with our actions. And it takes a while because they've heard it all before. You're not going to convince anybody of anything with the words anymore. But yeah, and learning communication skills. It's just so important that we communicate with other people, with our loved ones, because it's so important just to talk about what's going on the inside. If we leave it bottled up, we're doomed. But if we learn to get it out there and we start to we tell on ourselves, we like to say in NA, come tell on yourself. There's when you talk about the thoughts and the obsessions that you're having or the problems or the cravings, it takes the power away from it. When you say it out loud in front of other people, it takes the power away from it. So communication is very important too.
Well, we are about running out of time here, but before we get out of here, I want to touch on what happened recently with losing to Patriot Dell Wilkes,
Yeah.
and what a it really I was blown off my feet. I love Dell. I didn't
Yeah,
know
he's a
him as
great,
well as
great
I know a
human
lot of
being.
guys, but I knew him. Uh, I know that he practiced his recovery. He
Big time.
shared it with everybody. He was a real deal sobriety. And the Patriot dies right before Independence Day. The fuck is that about?
Yeah,
That
yeah, that was easy.
I'm experiencing a little bit of anger over this Dell thing, and maybe I shouldn't be, but I am.
I mean, don't dwell on it. Don't dwell in the
Right.
anger of the moment. Fall back on Dell was an amazing human being. He had changed his life. His family can be proud of the man that he had become before he left this earth. Um, I looked up to Dell. We had just been working together with the WWAB podcast network for a year, and it was always a pleasure to be on camera with him and talk to him and message him. Very religious man, very deeply seated in his conservative views, which is cool. He was a big Trump guy. That's cool.
Yeah.
He stuck to his guns and believed what he believed in, but he was always willing to listen to the other side. He was always willing to listen to the other point of view. Um, but just truly a great man, and it was such a shock. I'm looking back on it, and out of the bunch of us guys that are doing these podcasts, he was probably in the best shape out of all of us.
Yeah.
That's the scary
Yeah.
thing. That is the
But
scary thing.
he was also hitting them anabolics back then, and you know,
Oh man, all of us did.
yeah,
I'm sure we've all had issues. I mean, I don't know if that's what created, but I know, um, if you use or certainly have used steroids in the past, it enlarges your heart
Mhm.
and it doesn't go back down. So I know that I have an issue. My heart's enlarged a bit because there were times when I've abused steroids. Truth be told, but I don't know what the situation was with Dell. They still have yet. I don't know if they're gonna do an autopsy or what, but it seems like he passed in his sleep, maybe of a heart attack. But
and
I
you
don't know
really
that. I
can't
was,
ask for more than that.
you know, um, there were a lot of things going on in Dell's life where he was happy and at peace. He was reconnecting with some of his kids. One of his sons was getting ready to move up there uh, with him. So things were going great. And so I know when he left this earth, he was in a good state of mind. It sucks that he passed away, obviously, but I know that his life was going the way he wanted it to in terms of the connections and rebuilding and all the great things that were going on in his life. And I'm sure his family was and is proud of him. And he's just going to be so sorely missed. He was and is such a great guy and a great human being. I just keep saying that, but you know, you meet you don't meet so many really quality human beings in this world, and he was one of them. I think he was humbled by life, like I was, like you
Right.
were, like a lot of us. He was humbled by life, and he was using it for the right reasons now, in the right way to help others and to motivate others. And that was just such a great thing, man. And just gone way too soon, way too soon. And we are all still kind of dealing with it. We're still shell shocked, but my recovery tells me I have to handle these emotions and I've got
Right.
to move forward and I can't stay stuck in sadness or anger.
Right.
Um, and Dell wouldn't want that anyway. Dell's probably up there saying, keep kicking ass, guys. Keep doing
Yeah,
it, man.
totally.
So that's what we're going to do.
He would
That's
say, "Don't cry for me."
right, right. He would. You're exactly right. That's exactly what he would say. So we're going to try not to cry for him, and we are definitely going to move forward uh, and certainly honor him always in our podcasting network and family and just in life in general. We're going to do our best to always honor Del Wilkes, an incredible human being.
And a hell of a worker.
Hell of a worker.
Yeah.
Hell of a worker.
I mean, he made out there. He got up there and made some dudes who naturally look like shit look like polished shit.
Yeah, he could make some guys look good. Yeah, he was very good.
I
And
told
those
him once-
matches
I
he had
told
with
him
Bret
once-
Hart were great too.
Yeah, I don't know why
Amazing.
that got squashed so early. Me and Ward were Casanova were just talking about that the other day.
That's a whole nother podcast right there. The
Yeah.
ins and outs of the bullshit behind the scenes in the WWE.
I used to say Dell's one of those rare flair types that could work a broom.
Yeah, he was. He could. And they were always with him, man. He always had the crowd. So
Yeah.
very, very electric personality in
Here's a
general.
wrestling fact that a lot of people might not know is Kurt Angle's music was originally written for Dell.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what he was working for Vince. He was coming out to dun 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 dun. Yeah. So
That's cool.
he inherited Dell's music, and another American patriot. So it all rolled together.
Sure.
But I think that's going to wrap up our time. I just want to let everybody know who's watching. Those of you who are dealing with the relapse or haven't even gone as far as that, who are still suffering in silence and alone, and you don't have to be. You don't have to be. If nobody has told you lately, I love you. You deserve sobriety, recovery. You, your friends, your family, you all deserve this together, and you can have it. Remember, your misery is refundable. Any brilliant words of closing from the dumpster?
Yeah, just like you said, to piggyback off that, ask for help if you're struggling out there. Ask for help. It will be an amazing thing. The change will be amazing. You will be so happy that you did. Trust me. And and other than that, man, just thank you for having me on this show. I think we talked about so many important issues when it comes to addiction and recovery, and especially relapse today. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, my friend.
Always love having you on, man. It always flows so well. You and Howard so far. I mean, we
Howard
all
Collado,
really work.
the man with the plan, the music man, Mr. Howard Collado.
Music man, boy, oh boy, he has been through his own roller coaster too, boy. And he's so honest and forthcoming about what he's been through. That's so helpful for people.
Amazing recovery he's got.
Amen. So, all right, guys, let me just drop this on you real quick, too. The Smells Like Hope podcast is going to be dropping back to maybe every 2 weeks because, as most of you know, I'm still trying like hell to fix my house in Pittsburgh, get it sold, get moved to Florida, take care of my, rapidly aging mother, and just, there's a lot going on. I'm going to come back when I have relevant things to share with you guys. I'm not just trying to fill time for the sake of filling time. I like to say something when you're going to really get something from it. So, that being said, until next time, Duke, of course, you're going to have to come back on with us. It's always. Awesome. And that's going to do it for us. To coin Chris Casanova's new favorite exit term for me, it is time to cut it out.